Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Across the Park podcast, and it's that time of the week again. Unfortunately, my God, the games are coming too thick and fast for us at the moment. It's the opposition preview, and absolutely delighted to be joined this week by Brad from Leicester Till I Die podcast. Now, just before we get into it, Brad, for our listeners or viewers, if you like what Brad's, the way Brad's going about things, or if you want to hear a little bit more about Leicester, we've got a link to Brad's podcast in the description below. So first and foremost, Brad, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Compared to the last time we was both in the same division, I'm looking forward to this more than I was the last time we faced each other.
So, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are, mate. I can't say that the feeling's mutual.
Well, I'm glad for that, to say that much. At least this time, if we give away a penalty, Pickford can't have it written down on his bottle because we haven't got Maddison anymore. So that's something, yeah.
Okay, well, let's hope Jamie Vardy sticks with the same habits then. But from my perspective, let's hope you don't get a penalty in the first place.
I suppose you would be hoping for that.
Yeah. So anyway, Brad, I spoke to you briefly off air. The idea of the show is to get a bit of a lowdown on how you guys are feeling as a fan base. I know you can't speak for the whole fan base, but how, generally what the feeling is around the club. Obviously, new manager in Steve Cooper. What was that like? What have been the first impressions, and what are your expectations for the rest of the season, or we've only just started the season, and most importantly, going into this game, who do we expect to see in Leicester Blue, and what will hope for, I guess, as Everton fans. I always say this, I'm not sure that Sean Dyche and his analysis team will be watching, but if they are, then it'd be great to get some extra insight. So anyway, Brad, without further ado, welcome back to the Premier League.
Oh, thanks. It's been a okay return to the Premier League. Yeah, so far so good. Got more points on the board than others, and we've had the biggest victory of them all, beating the PSR. PSR champions. No one will sing that. Probably shouldn't say that on the Everton podcast, though, should I? Really? Because
no,
so I probably shouldn't say that too much.
It's all right, mate. It's good to see someone beating PSR outside of the cartel, as we call them, outside of the top four. So that's refreshing to see. And just I mean, I don't speak for all Evertonians, but certainly from our podcast perspective, we didn't want to see Leicester get a deduction. I mean, there are other teams in the Premier League who deserve it a lot more than you guys, and it definitely wouldn't have given us any satisfaction to see another team in a similar position to us, obviously trying to stay in the league, trying to balance the books, not going over the top as some of the other teams are, and yet getting pushed back down. So I'm glad you've got through that, and hopefully we can just focus this season as much as possible on what the players are doing on the pitch.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I kind of said it about you guys last season. Not so much Forest, but that's for obvious reasons. But it becomes a sad sport when you actually see, and it's only a minority, granted, but when you actually see a fan base getting excited that a team is potentially or does get a points deduction because they go, "Oh, goody, that's one team we don't have to worry about." I mean, you guys showed a fine example. Whether it's 10 points, 6 points, whatever it is, you can overturn the deficit and stay up. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's bad when you're relying on a team getting a points deduction to justify, you potentially staying up and in a relegation battle. It's not great, and it's easy for me to sit here being a Leicester fan, being the one that's done it, but I agree with you. It's nice, even if it wasn't us, even if it had been you last season, or even Forest. Sorry, I can't say that without getting the lips in my mouth. But even if one of you two last season had overturned it completely and won the battle, it'd been nice to see, because I'm with you. We're all with you on LTID TV as well. we say the same. You know, first of all, let the results on the pitch decide where you finish in the league, not the financial spending, because you're not punishing the right areas. You're punishing the fans for a points
Right.
deduction. Um, Having said that, I also agree that the cartel. I can think of 115 other reasons why we shouldn't, or no one really should have got any deduction of points or been facing that charge when there's a lot bigger problems going on elsewhere. Not that we need to say where it is. It's the worst kept secret, isn't it, with Man
Yeah.
City?
Without doubt, there's certainly suggestion that the resources that the Premier League have got should have been focused in their direction before anywhere else. But again, as you just said, and as I've just said, let's try and leave that behind us. Thankfully for you guys, and hopefully for us, that we've seen the end of PSR points deductions. So on to Mass on the pitch. You've just alluded that you felt like it was a decent start to the season. I think I would certainly agree with that based on the results. I can't say I've seen many of your performances. In terms of the performances from you guys, what has there been any changes from the way that obviously Maresca set up played? I'm pretty sure there would be, and what you've seen from Steve Cooper.
Yeah, he's kind of reverted back to the Leicester that the Premier League got to know. Look, Maresca came like Marmite with his tactics. You either loved it or you hated it. And even when it was doing really well for us in the Championship, you were looking at games going, this is terrible. It's a good job these can't shoot. We had a few games when we were doing our post-match where we were saying, yes, we won 2-0 and it seems comfortable, but it had a team like Sheffield Wednesday or Rotherham had their shooting boots on, we wouldn't have got the 3 points we did. Chelsea fans are seeing that. The football's taken on this newfound fad of playing it out the back. So that is still there. That's not a Maresca thing. I see that as a fad in the footballing industry right now. We had a hoofball area when it was the likes of Stoke and West Ham in the Premiership. They were very hoofball football. It seems like a bit of a fad, if you will, in football. But we've just been a bit more direct. And I think that's something that you have to be able to do as a newly promoted side, no matter what your stature is. You look at Burnley last season, they said, we got promoted playing this way, we're going to play this way in the Premier League. And they left it a little too late to change it up. He was very stubborn, pass it out from the back, play it around the back, be patient. It works in the Championship, it can work here. It doesn't unless you've got £400 billion worth of talent like Man City do. That's why they do it so well. Regardless of what you think of Man City, there is a reason the teams like that and your Barcelonas of old, your Real Madrids can pass the ball around with ease because they've got the quality to do that and not make as many mistakes as you do. But the changes haven't been like mind blowing. It's not been like the Ranieri title charge where he just kept the counter attack going and it was we'll have 31% possession, but we'll make it count in the air. It's just been a bit more direct with it. Our goal against Palace, and I know that was a bit of a bad result on paper because we were 2-0 up. The first goal we got was so Leicester of old. Scrappy battle in the midfield, won it, turned, pinged the ball forward. Jamie Vardy. It doesn't matter if he's 37, 38, 52, doesn't matter how old he is, he seems to be able to run on to any ball that's played through to him. So he's gone back to a more appeasable style of football. Admittedly, that Steve Cooper has come with a bit of a yay and nay from fan base. He wasn't that very well enamoured. I think some people still hold on to the fact that he managed Forest, forgetting that our club captain for about 10 years was a former Forest man in Wes Morgan. Sometimes, fickle fan, look it up in the dictionary, you'll see.
Legends, him, isn't he? Is he a Leicester legend now, Wes Morgan?
I think he has to be, even if you just base it off an achievement of what he's been a part of. He was still technically captain. He was still technically captain when we won the FA Cup. Okay, that was more of a dressing room captain, you could argue, but nonetheless, he was still there, and he was a really faithful player. I think he's actually still at the club. I can't remember in what capacity or role he holds it at. I think he might be with the women's game. I could be wrong. But yeah, the start has been decent, but it's been so indifferent. If you'd have said to me we was going to get 2 points out of the first couple of games, I'd have said, okay, disappointing draw with Palace, which in turn it was and it wasn't the way it played out. And I'd have probably said, oh, we're going to get a draw against Fulham then. Look, the Villa result was expected, although Steve Cooper probably made his first infuriating mistake in that game in terms of tactical lineup and the delay in substitutions. But the Tottenham game was an absolute bonus point, and that kind of excited fans because something that has been very familiar early doors for us is he likes to go defensive for that first 45 minutes. And again, I don't know if that's just a stigma of first season syndrome, relegation, odds on favourites team. So the best form of attack is defence, and then sort of work your way into a game. But it is frustrating the fans because against Villa, who were by far the better team for 60 odd minutes, you know, we was just giving them the ball back. We had 7 or 8 men behind the ball. We were showing no attacking outlet. He then goes 2-0 down, then makes 3 attacking changes. And a bit like what happened against Spurs when we scored, Villa couldn't touch us. That's no exaggeration. If you went to 2 or 3 minutes before Leicester scored and watched that game progressing, you know, Unai Emery takes off an attacking-minded substitute that he put on previous in the game. He took him off to go defensive because he was worried that Leicester were going to get a late equaliser. So the frustration is, do that against you guys, Everton. With the greatest respect, the games we've got to win and get points off are the most important this season. Are your Wolves, because at the moment they're down at the bottom. Your Crystal Palaces, your Evertons, your Southampton, Ipswich. Tottenham's a lovely bonus point, but it's no good if we go and lose to you at the weekend and you know, and struggle to put points against teams around us. So whilst it has been positive, there has been that niggling negativity around the club in regards to the way he does things sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, I got that impression from some Forest fans, I guess, towards the end. But I mean, I think what you'll get with Steve Cooper, though, he's a bit more of a, as you've alluded to already, he's a lot more of a pragmatist. You know, he'll kind of, I think personally, from what I've seen, I actually know Steve Cooper quite well. He does his research. He'll target games where he feels that the team will need to win. He has a pretty strong home record at Forest as well. He made the City grounds, certainly when, you know, he was in his first season in the Premier League. They made the City ground a really tough place for most teams to go. And I think if you'd ask the fan base of most of the teams in the bottom half, would you accept going in at half time in most games at 0-0 and give yourself a chance in the second half? I think you give yourself a really good chance of competing and staying in the Premier League if you get to most games level. So I mean, we're probably in receipt of a similar pragmatist, but probably a little bit more negative than anything else in Sean's eyes. But I'll just touch a little bit more on the I guess the expectations for this season. Haven't seen what you've seen so far. Haven't seen the other teams in the league, which, as you've already pointed upon, some have got less points than you. Some have played a lot worse than you. How are you? Has it changed your expectations, or are you still thinking, look, just stay in the league and then look to build in second season?
Look, I think we've got the potential if he gets things right, and again, we've kind of, apart from maybe Fulham, we've not really played a run of oppositions where we've really felt we can get a win from it. You know, you could argue Crystal Palace, but they've had a storming run in the season and done really well. You know, so it wasn't ever going to be easy. We have the potential, and we've already seen glimpses of it, to cause trouble in this division. And without the points deduction as well, like, the confidence has gone up a little bit from that. You know, admittedly, we now don't have that excuse if we go down, but I feel more confident we can actually finish about 14th, 15th. But let's cut it straight. If we finish 17th by a 96-minute goal by Vardy, it keeps us. Here's my left hand. It's my best hand. You can take it. I'm left-handed. Stab it. Ultimately, that is the ultimate goal. But we have, and there has been a lot of talk from fans, more like second half syndrome, if you will. When we've been on the attacking front, we've looked good going forward, and we've caused teams already like Villa and Tottenham, admittedly only over 45 minutes, but again, football's not 45 minutes,
That's all
it's
you
90
need.
minutes. Exactly. So, there's signs to say we could do really well this season and be up higher mid-table, but yeah, I would definitely take 17th by 1 goal if it comes to it. You know what I mean? I really wouldn't care. Premier League is Premier League at the end of the day. As much as I enjoyed no VAR and winning lots of games last season, give me the Premier League every day of the week.
Well, before I go into the key men for you guys, one signing which was more of a re-signing, I guess, or a player who was heavily linked with us, and a player that I would have, snapped your hands off to take was Wilfred Ndidi. Looking at that, that re-signing, and I don't know what was the feeling amongst Leicester fans of, taking him back, because it looks at the moment, based on his performances in the first few games and his contributions, like it was a pretty, integral part, or he'd becoming again an integral part of that team.
Yeah, I mean, the old cliche, a new sign, it feels like a new signing, is true. He got a bit of stick off some Leicester fans. There's a particular presenter I've worked with on a channel. She's not the biggest fan of him. She wants him to do well, but he had dropped off the pace. I mean, that injury, that really big injury he had, obviously was never going to recover and be the player he was. I mean, but I've always liked him. He's ethic
Seems like
and his hard work.
Sorry, he seems like
Go
he's
on.
reinvented himself a little bit.
Well, he has. I mean, Maresca actually reinvented him as like a false 9 or a number 10, if you will.
Oh.
Admittedly, he hasn't got the shooting capability
Yeah.
for that, but he does. He does have the ability to run forward, and he reads the game so well. His ability to kind of see what's going on, almost like a chess game. He's 2 or 3 moves ahead of some of his teammates. He's like, right, he's going to go there, and if he goes there, and I go there, it's going to free that person up. But I could get across and block that pass off because he'll take that pass on, and I know he's going to do that, so I can make the move early, and I can win as the ball back. Watch our goal against Crystal Palace. He's first to react, and he doesn't even look down. He just gets his head down. He plays a 20-yard through ball because he knows Vardy's going to run onto it. Whether the pass is good enough or not, that's by the by. He makes that pass and knowing that Vardy or Fatawu or somebody's going to be running through on that goal. So he knows he reads the game so well. And for me, I admire any player who is Premier League quality. Let's face it, I know the hype dipped from Man U, Liverpool, Barcelona at one point to, with the greatest respect, down to the likes of Everton, Palace, and teams like that he was linked with. No disrespect to you at all, but I'm talking on paper, on caliber.
Yeah, of
Obviously,
course,
his
yeah.
form took a dip. His form still took a dip, but he could have walked into 15, 16 Premier League sides last season without a shadow of doubt. He kind of goes under the radar of appreciation as well with Pereira, because them two could play in the Premier League for, again, 15, 16 clubs, either starting or regularly featuring for them, at least, and I appreciate it more because I understand that he waited a while because Maresca left, because he was going to sign a deal immediately. Then Maresca left, and he was like, "Well, let me see who you get first. Let me see my situation." Because obviously, if Cooper didn't like him, he'd be signed a new deal at Leicester and going, "Oh, but yeah, well, he don't want to play me." Obviously, things panned out. He signed a new deal about a week or so after he joined, and I credit any player that does that, because a player who could have easily, not saying it's a snake in the grass, but Castagne, Timothy Castagne, who jumped ship. Players who jump ship the second you've got an R next to your name. He committed himself to Leicester. He stayed with Leicester. He helped us get promoted, and he's now committed back to the club. And he's been a phenomenal player this season. He's looked like he's very quickly getting back to the Ndidi of old. Like I said, his interceptions, the game, the way he reads what's going on in and around him, and the way, obviously, he's had years with some players in that squad, so he knows them more than others. But even still, over a season and a bit with the likes of Fastway and Mavididi, he knows where they are. I never worry when we're on the attack. I worry about him when Brendan used to have him as a centre back defending in our box because he gave away penalties. But in terms of springing an attack, he is slowly getting back to the Ndidi of old, and I know it's something we're going to talk about a bit later on, but he's one to have an eye on for every team this season if he's in the starting 11 for us.
Another player, I mean, you've spoke about Jamie Vardy. I think we'll come on to Jamie Vardy when we speak a little bit more about the game specifically. But a player I did want to ask you about, and probably the opposite end of the spectrum when you talk about, well, he may not be, but I would suggest he is, in terms of, loyalty and maybe, someone who doesn't necessarily want to be at the club, and that's Wout Weiss. What was the story behind the end of the window? It seemed as though he asked to leave. Is that true? And if it was, what happened? Why didn't he end up actually leaving?
Can I just say in advance, pardon my French, because that was the same exact Belgium lazy journalist bullshit that we got when he got relegated to the Championship. Because when we got relegated to the Championship, the same Belgium newspaper said that the Belgium national manager said, if you do not leave Leicester and you play the Championship, you will never play for Belgium this side. I believe if history states, he stayed at Leicester and was picked to play in the Belgium national side over the Euros. They've always tried to unsettle it. Him, I don't know what their obsession is with him.
So it wasn't true then?
It can't. Well, apparently he was miserable and wanted out at Leicester, but I've never seen such a happy, angry player in all my life. Because for a player who's apparently gutted to still be here, he watch the highlights. Don't 2-minute highlights of our game against Crystal Palace. He is head and shoulders our best defender. He made superb blocks. If he doesn't want to be here, he's not putting in the effort. He's not making them blocks. He's not bothering to track back. It's lazy journalism from the Belgium national paper. I don't know why they've got it in for him. He looks very happy at the club, and I can assure you,
he's a top player.
Yeah, and from the managers he's worked with, I can assure you, if he didn't want to be here, he wouldn't be playing. We had it with Enzo and Christensen, who wanted to play for Leicester, but wasn't an inverted wing back and refused. Well, not refused, said I can't do that role, so I'm not going to try and learn it in the squad. He was just loaned out to go play for a team who would play him in his preferred position. A player I'm thankful is back and is doing well for us. But Cooper would not stand for Wout Weiss throwing a strop if it was true. Why would you play a guy every week? I mean, I went to the Tranmere Carabao Cup game. Not a big game, admittedly. But he played in that, and he was on the right-hand side, which apparently is where he was fuming he wasn't playing, but he'd been playing on the right-hand side. I mean, maybe it's different in Belgium. They don't know left and right because he was playing on that right-hand side. Anyway, but he had a smile on his face. He was cheering the crowd. He was clapping. And then I turned to my mate who I went with, and I said to him, "Oh, yeah, really unhappy to be here at Leicester. I bet he's gutted he's just won another game, So it's all rubbish journalism, mate. Sorry to the Belgian press if anyone watches it and works there, but crap at journalism. Move on."
Yeah, no, fair enough. Glad you cleared that one up. So again, look, let's get into the game. And you've mentioned two players there that I'm sure will be integral to the game at the weekend. What are the players, are kind of the key to the way you play, and what can we expect? You're at home, as you just said. You just alluded to the fact that this is a game, and rightfully so, that you'll be targeting 3 points in. How do you believe that Steve Cooper goes about that this weekend?
I think he still plays it optimistic. I don't think he's going to risk letting you go 2-0 up and hoping the same thing happens again.
Oh, don't. You just had to say that, didn't you?
Sorry.
It's twice, actually. It's twice in a week, actually. So, yeah.
I know. I think.
Well, not twice in a week. Twice in the last two games, yeah.
Yeah. I think you're saved with the fact that Bournemouth did something similar a couple of seasons ago. So it's not like you're the first team to have that happen to you. So there's still
just happened a lot later.
Yeah, I would like to think we'd be a bit more on the front foot against you. Like you said, I think Cooper wants to be reserved. the big key player for me, if 3 key players for me, if he starts them, and I don't know why he wouldn't, especially the first one I'm going to mention, Mavididi. Uh, when he's come on, he's changed the game. I don't know why he's insisted on playing a 32-year-old Jordan Ayew on the wing. Happy to see him up front where he plays and where he belongs. You know, this isn't. I've always said it's not a dig at Ayew. It's just don't play a 32-year-old on the wing. Play a winger on the wing. When Mavridi's played and he started against Palace and got his first goal in the Premier League as well, he's been phenomenal. He's been the driving force behind our attacks. Wilfred Ndidi is also, like I said, born again in that midfield. Looks comfortable, looks reliable on the ball. But you know when you get a player that's really goes under the radar and it's only really your fans that sing about him, Harry Winks. We call him the Duracell Bunny because he gets everywhere. You know, he could be at the edge of your box trying to get a pass into Vardy, and if you broke away, he'd be the first man that's back trying to make the tackle to stop you getting into our defence. He's unbelievable, and if you said who's a sneaky fourth to maybe watch out for, Woutface loves a run forward. He loves to get in behind, and he does it so sneakily. The amount of times he goes in unnoticed, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Hey, wow, Faith's got the ball 30 yards out for goal." He just
How can
does
you not
it.
notice him?
I know he's got the air there, bunch hairstyle. Looks like David Luiz, but in 1 minute he's made a pass, and the next minute he's right at the edge of the opposition box. He's probably more scary in your box than our box at times, but yeah, they're probably my 3/4 players you want to look out for, because if we get our noses in front, that's when we'll really turn on the style, and that's when you'll have a back to the wall job, because we have some firepower going forward. I know teams already and fans think, oh, they're going to rely on Vardy to score the goals. No, we've got goals in us all over that pitch. Although we do have the worst transfer of the summer in our team, 25 million for Oliver Skip, but we won't talk about that. But
Yeah, it was
apart
odd.
from
That
him,
it was odd.
yeah, I wouldn't have paid 2.5 million for him. But
Has he been playing?
I hope he has, and it's one of them players that you look at and go, yeah, if we'd have paid 5 million for him, I'd have said he was a decent buy. But on value for what we paid, we're never going to get 25 million for us. I just hope he does decent enough and doesn't, come to bite us on the arse, because if we're stuck with a player that's got a 5-year deal and halfway through the season he's found himself on the bench, that's 25 million we're never going to see again. But like I said, I hope he
100%.
proves us wrong. I always want people to do well while they're wearing the Leicester shirt. But yeah, they're my top 3. And like I said, just watch out for the Hair Bear bunch making a run forward, because he will do that for us.
Anyone who gets in our box has got a chance, mate. Trust me.
That's very true. I didn't want to say it, but that's very true.
Formation wise, has it been 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1? What's the?
Yeah, it kind of gives Mavididi and Fatwa a free role to cut in and kind of drive more central, but essentially it's a 4-3-3. I mean, the only time he really changes it up is later on in the game, if we're holding on for a point or a win, as we were against Crystal Palace, and that might be your best opportunity to kind of throw the kitchen sink at us if we're only winning 1-0 against you or 2-1. I would say it's our weakest thing he does, because he likes to go to a 3 at the back, which, whilst it handled a lot of what Crystal Palace did, and Palace only had 4 clear-cut chances, we've got two of them being the goals they scored, but it frustrated the fans, that second half performance, because when he switched to a 5 at the back, we could deal with everything Palace threw at us in the box, but it just went straight back to them.
Yeah.
And it just felt like 45 minutes of try again, Palace, try again. You know what I mean? It just felt after the quick fire goals that went in the first minute or so of that second half, it felt like after 2-1, it was just try again, Palace, and then one silly mistake cost us 3 points. So you might actually be hoping that we are winning 1-2, one or two, near the end.
I'm not sure.
That would say our weakness.
That was actually going to be my next question. If Everton were going to score, how would that come about? So you're suggesting it might be if you start to drop deeper and you're trying to defend what you've got, that you may be more vulnerable to that momentum shift then, and it maybe going the other team's way.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of what you want. If you can keep us in a contest, and I know it works both ways, but if you can keep yourself in contention with us, you will. The nervous twitch will happen.
Yeah.
The substitutes will be probably like for like, but you'll see if he plays at RU, he'll take him off. He'll probably put Cody on or Vestergaard on or a defender on. He'll put Chowdhury on and take Winks off. Very predictable substitutes because our squad isn't. It's a decent squad on paper, but it's not a brilliant squad. It's very limited on who we're going to bring on for who in that sense.
In terms of depth.
But yeah, exactly. That's the quality in depth isn't quite there. So yeah, I know it's hard, being as the last few games have probably had you cursing yourselves and that, and and this is a difficult point for Everton. And I know it was only a Carabao Cup game, but in turn losing that last night just doesn't help your situation. I was listening to a recording by Mark Albright and talking about the season we went down, and he was saying just that sort of momentum killer is such a bad thing to have. And when you get, the last thing it's almost like the last thing you needed was Southampton in the cup. You'd have been better off getting like a
Championship
side, just so you could, just so you could get a win back under your belt. Doesn't matter who it is, if it would have helped. But keep yourself in contention, and you'll have a chance of getting your first point. You don't have a point, do you yet?
No, we don't. Thanks for that again.
So no. What I'm saying is, so I didn't want to say we haven't. With us okay. Well, then you as long as you don't let us get flowing through the gears, because our biggest strength is our biggest weakness. If we're 2 or 3-0 up, forget it. Get on the coach. Get a train. Save yourself the trouble because we're going to see it out. But if you can keep with us, them last 10, 15 minutes, he'll make the nervous switch substitutions. And then if I was Sean Dyche, not that I would do this against my own club, but if I was Sean Dyche, I would say, right, you attacking midfielder, get on. Let's go at them. Because we're kind of that sort of team that you feel like we might as well go at them and try and get ourselves back in the game and lose 2-0, getting caught out going for it, than just sticking to what we're doing and hoping that we'll break them down. Because if we don't pressure our back line, and when we do that, you're going to lose the game 1-0. It's just that simple. Because we can be quite comfortable on the ball if you don't come at us when we do that. Don't send this memo to Sean Dyche. I'm not leaking secrets.
Well, listen, it's been a really positive, positive insight for myself. So before I do let you go, Brad, give us a prediction.
Oh, dear. Look, I've had my thing about Everton before, and I am going to say this. I never want to see a big name go down, but I do still firmly believe that if you don't go down soon, it's going to end up being worse in the long run. So don't harm me for this prediction. Yeah, I mean, it's as crazy as it sounds. Relegation could be a good thing for a team. I don't think right now it would be, because you probably aren't still on tender hooks. If it'd probably get worse, a lot worse if you were. So I do hope you stay up as long as there's 3 other teams barring us that are worse than you. However, I've got to go for a 3-0 Leicester win. We've got to we've got to kick you while you're down.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's what it's about.
We've got to. Yeah, because we could come to Goodison Park in reverse picture, and you might have turned a fortune. You might have turned your fortunes around. You might be, up in. You could well be, because Wolves didn't they? When they last season, they were October, November.
Yeah. But Bournemouth done the same.
Exactly. So we don't want to try and nick a draw against you, and then be going to Goodison like, oh, actually, we really need a win before you start pulling away from us. So sorry to be so harsh, but
Oh no,
I
listen,
want
fair enough.
kick you when you're down. We've got to try and take the initiative and give you a beating. But I will say this to any of your fans that watch this, and I'm not sure about yourself. I know you said you're a bit with your manager. Stick by Sean Dyche for this season, because this is the last of the Burnley effect. If he can keep you up, then move on to pastures new.
Yeah.
Stick with him this season, because you don't want to end up in a whirlpool where all of a sudden your owners are thinking about sacking a manager every 3 months because it's not working. I would say stick with him at least for this season.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, I'm sure how up to date you are with our ownership situation. We haven't even got an owner, so there's no one to sack him actually right at the moment. So and I think he's very well aware of that. But from the way he's conducting himself in public, he's very bullish about things. But I think he knows that there's nobody really in a position to sack him. But you know what? Despite the results, despite all the negativity, despite a lot of the criticism from various sections of our fan base, I'm not actually in disagreement with you. I don't think sacking him this season would achieve a lot either way. I think maybe get through the season, get the new owner in, etc., and maybe assess things in the summer. But I don't think there's many managers out there that could probably get much more out of these players, this group of players. So yeah, I don't think you're far wrong, mate. I'm actually going to go for a 2-2. So I know you said, you wouldn't want to see us come away with a point. I would snap your hands off at a point right now. We just need to just get ourselves off that zero, away from zero, off the bottom, and just gain a little bit of momentum going into future games. So I would take a 2-2. And listen, if I could hear myself saying this in the summer, I would be thinking how bad are we at the moment if I'm hoping for a 2-2. And that's no disrespect to you as well. I would have looked at this fixture thinking the summer, thinking we can go there and win at Leicester, but right now it's not. I'm not in that type of in that frame of mind.
Yeah, I mean, I will be honest. I know I've kind of said it with my test 3-0. Leicester are very susceptible of being the season-giving side, where if you need something, go see Dr. Leicester. So if we go lose this game, I'd be angry, but I ultimately wouldn't also be surprised with Leicester. So you have got that hope on you as well.
Well, here is to hoping. Here is to hoping. But listen, Brad, I know gratefully you've agreed to join Millsy on Sunday for a review. Now, again, I hope this is you sitting, with your headset over your eyes and devastated.
If we've lost, this is all you're seeing. If we've lost, I'm not being on camera for it. I'll take the shame, but not to face.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you, mate. But I appreciate you agreeing to come on, and hopefully you do come on. But look, thanks so much for your time, Brad. I know Millsy's looking forward to speaking to you on Sunday. I'm not sure he'll be feeling that way after the game on Saturday, but hopefully he is. But I always say this, and I do genuinely mean it. Best of luck for the season. After this game, and obviously
exactly,
not including the Goodison game. And look, I do genuinely hope that you've managed to not only stay up, but stabilise yourselves, because you're definitely a team that is is fitting of the Premier League, and hopefully you can maintain that status.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate it. And again, exactly the same to you. After Saturday and in the reverse at Goodison Park, you can have a brilliant season. Do what you need to do. But I wish you all the worst of luck for Saturday for obvious reasons. But yeah, I hope
that's the way it should be.
Exactly, because why would I want you to do well on Saturday? Exactly why you wouldn't want us to do well.
Yeah. Well, top man, Brad. And again, to anyone who wants to check out more of the Leicester content, maybe wants to look back or listen back, or again wants to keep in touch with what Leicester are doing for the rest of the season, it's Leicester Till I Die TV. The link is below in the description. And again, if you want to hear Brad's reaction to the game, then tune in on Sunday. Thanks so much, Brad. Enjoy the weekend apart from the game, and I'll catch you soon.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it, and I'll see Millsy on Sunday.
You will. Top man. Cheers, Brad.